Doesn't know who he
So
is, but
I bumped the button.
that's okay.
We are going live. I'm just going to let Facebook do all its thing here and make it accessible to the world. We are going live. There we go. Okay. We are live. I'm just going to get it set up so I can see comments. So we have the beautiful Anya Day streaming to us from the beautiful New York City in her lavish vacation rental.
This is not lavish at all.
Well,
This
she
is
was showing
weird.
me some of the foliage hanging around and other things. It's interesting. It's not green, it's brown, but from the video there. Cool. Dried flower arrangements. There you go.
Yeah.
You don't get to see that very much nowadays.
No.
So Anya's been on this beautiful and grand adventure for the last few days that's awakening and opening her so beautifully.
With the help of you.
What's that?
The help of you.
Well, I gave some help. I think she probably would have been curled up in a ball if she didn't see the light in some of it.
That's true.
That's beautiful. I'm suggesting people note the difference on Anya's face while she drinks milk or waddy water. Okay, there you go. Boxed water is better. What the heck does that mean? I guess that's a sales gimmick.
Cool. It's sustainable.
I would have never looked in the milk aisle for water, but
that would be just. Can you imagine if this was milk? That would be, and I'm just casually sipping this whole container. That'd be disgusting.
If you like milk,
no.
I am suggesting people look into Anya's energy and see how different she is. She doesn't realize it, but if you're commenting and you see a difference, just send it and I'll relay that to her. Yeah, well, she's got her new blonde highlights, which she did before she came, but she's kind of glowing inside. I don't know how to describe that. So it's beautiful.
Thank you.
But that's what our conversation is about today, is looking at the juxtaposition of how perception can be and how much a different experience it can give. When the experience was the same, it was just how the thoughts kind of mangled everything up.
Yes.
So where would you like to start? What's been going on for you?
Well, I want to talk about like what you do.
Sure.
Like, and so I guess we can use my situation with the perception and how like you were so insightful and helped me get to the root of it, and like it like not only changed my perception, but it opened up doors.
Possibility. Yep.
Seemingly closed. Mm-hmm. But when you change the perception, the new doors, new realities, new potentials open up.
Mm-hmm. And grand ones. She's not even sure how big it's going to be yet, but anyways.
Yeah. So I guess just like the lowdown as I air my dirty laundry. I was supposed to stay at this guy's house whom I met 2 months earlier in LA, and I like had a click with him, and he's not my type, which is probably good, probably healthy. And I just had this feeling of peace and that I was supposed to know him. And I had arranged to stay with him and everything was fine leading up to it. And the day, literally like the hour, I'm like getting into the Uber to get to his house, and I'm
just 1 second. We're going to continue that. But you had created some stuff in your mind about how it was going to go.
I had expectations in my mind of how it was going to go. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't even communicating any of those. Mm-hmm. They were just all in my head. Mm-hmm. And then, so I'm 15 minutes away from this person's house. And then I get a text message saying, okay, well, my boo is laying in bed right now, just so you know. And I freaked out, and I had the Uber driver reroute to my friend's house because it was in the same area. So I was like, skirt, cancel. And I got dropped off at my friend's house, and I was hyperventilating because I don't want to be in that uncomfortable situation. And I started freaking out and panicking and reading into it like, okay, he has this contracting, and he had this girl sleeping at his house. And I was like, okay, I guess he has a girlfriend. Like, I don't want to be in that. That sounds uncomfortable. And, one ripple effect created this whole story, and that shrunk me. And I was so upset. And I texted him, like, I'm not coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting at my friend's house, and then I called Paul.
Well, and how did you feel at that point?
Sad, rejected,
Small.
small.
I heard a little girl calling that was hurt and rejected and sad and
Yeah,
frustrated.
yeah.
Well, we talked for what, about 40 minutes or something?
$70 worth.
$70 worth. Holy crap. Well, definitely I got a plan. So
I forgot you were in Canada.
well, I'm sorry for that.
But like with your help, it was amazing, because like the first thing you were like, is she his girlfriend, or are you just creating that assumption? And I was like, no, she's his girlfriend. And I was just creating that assumption.
Because it made it easy to push him away, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Because the
yeah,
rule said a girl and a guy is sacred, and there should only be one, and a whole bunch of different mangled up things that all join together from your past, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then I had spoken to him on the phone, and he was like, are you okay? And like I was like, no. But I didn't tell him exactly what I was feeling, but I had told him like what had happened to me the day before,
Mm-hmm.
which, I was already emotionally rattled.
Mm-hmm.
And I told
So
him
you
that
diverted it.
I diverted it, and I said that I would figure out my stay and that I would let him know.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
then
how long after the text and the diversion to your friend's house was that?
what does that mean?
Oh, you talked to him in verbal
Yeah,
a little while later. Was that before or after our conversation?
it was before our conversation.
Okay.
And I was like, I need to figure this out. Like, I was in fight or flight mode. Like, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like,
Your whole next steps fell apart, and your future and all that plan was just like, bing.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
And it really fucked me up, and I cried.
Beautiful.
And then I talked to you, and you were walking me through it.
So what was the first thing I asked you to do?
Breathe.
Breathe and ground, right?
Yeah.
Because you were way up here going, and a whole bunch of things were happening, and you couldn't even get straight. So we got you into your body, and then we started asking questions. It's like, okay, from my perspective, it's a beautiful thing because I can see one of my gifts, I guess, or whatever. I can see the energies of the other person, and I can kind of, with their permission, kind of set myself in their presence, and I can feel all the outside motivators or whatever's going on. And I could feel that you had some, like, you were holding on to, we talked before, and you had some plans, and it was all beautiful, and hoping the fairy tale was coming, or whatever. And then this one thing, which I assume you surprised them by coming earlier than planned or whatever. Or...
No, we were negotiating it. Like, I told him the night prior, hey, I'll be there like around this time. And then the next day he texted me, can you come 30 minutes later than the intended time? And I was like, okay, well, actually I'll come like by noon.
Mm-hmm. And how much later was that?
30 minutes later.
Okay, cool.
30
And it
minutes.
obviously didn't work out in his end because the girl wasn't waked up yet, and you
But
were
I'm
going to
just
get a
like,
surprise.
who's in bed at 11:30 in the morning? Like, get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
Like, I feel, because she knew that that he had a
coming.
girlfriend
Yeah.
type, and I was like, if I know women, then she was probably waiting to scope it out.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Which you weren't okay with because that would be a direct interaction with another potential person that loves him, which could take away from you too.
Yeah, and like I looked at what I was wearing and I was like, I'm not going.
Okay. Well, because you wanted
I was
him
cute.
to see you in a nice, cute, sexual kind of way.
Exactly.
That's kind of blocked
And I was
by
like, there's no
another
way
woman.
I
So,
can show up with this girl in his bed looking like this and like
so was that a little girl thinking that? Were you in your
yeah.
power yet?
Yeah, it was a little girl, but like I
Mm-hmm.
did not want to deal with extra emotions because I was already processing the attack.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a different excuse that puts you out of your general groundedness. So you were just adding to the the craziness or the unworthiness or a whole bunch of other things, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So we kind of kept walking through it and we keep going and slamming back. And it's like, what's in this for you, right?
yeah,
Which wasn't too fun. You didn't really want to go there for a little bit, but you kept, we'd come back to it after we talk a little bit more and listen to the piece that was going on. It's like, okay, you had some beliefs about monogamy, correct?
yes,
And that was a big one. It's like, oh, there's another girl in his bed. Am I safe here? Is their sexuality going to somehow influence me, or is she better? And there's jealousy and all this stuff came up. And then later on, after you talked to him, you changed your perspective on that completely, hadn't you?
yes,
All of a sudden, it was like it's okay, right? You
yeah,
said, I don't know what changed or whatever, but it's okay if he's got another girl there or whatever. It doesn't really bother me all of a sudden.
yeah.
So what? By the time we finished that call, what shifted in you? Do you remember?
I think it was just your encouragement to just be direct about my feelings.
That was a huge turning point. So explain that.
We you encouraged me to just which energy are you going to be in? The old small little girl energy who doesn't get what she wants, or do you want to speak up for what you want and see what happens?
Because you didn't know. It was all a story that you put in your head based on there's a girl in my bed.
Yes. And I
Okay.
was like, okay, well, that door is closed. Um, and you encouraged me to do that and to arrange like a meeting with him in person and have an open discussion. And so
Mm-hmm.
I after I got off the phone with you, I messaged him saying I was kind of surprised about that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to meet up with you to have an open discussion on what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he was compliant.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, after work, I'll meet you.
Mm-hmm.
We met at the park.
How did it go?
It went really well.
Well, you told me that within the first couple minutes or whatever, everything was clear, and then it was more into depth, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so we met up at the park and I told him about how I felt surprised and he was like, "Oh, like that's not anything serious. It's new." And then he gave me like, the lowdown of his situation where he was in a 10-year relationship and he just got out of it in January and he's in his exploratory
Mm-hmm.
thing and not looking for anything serious. He wants time to digest and
Mm-hmm.
this thing was his new exploration that was coming up.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And when we talked, did you realize that you want something similar?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I would like to build a partnership.
Mm-hmm. But how are you going to know if the foundation's there until you explore a little bit, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And he's doing the same thing, right? He has no idea whether your relationship is just a friendship or something deeper. and he's testing the waters by maybe inviting you to his place to give an opportunity to see what happens.
I invited myself.
Well, and he accepted, though. He could have like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable or whatever. But men generally would invite someone they're attracted to. They might not be direct about it, because in this world it's not
Say,
okay to be that direct on something like that, just to give opportunities. Oh, you're getting out of the shower naked and you're walking around naked. Well, okay, then that's an invitation, right? But if you're got a bathrobe up here and you're like, please close the door kind of thing, shows your willingness. So it's a dance, right?
yeah. And so I had finally, and I had rarely done this, but you had encouraged me to just step into that energy, and I did. And just say everything like that I was feeling about this person and what my intention was, what I wanted, and I
Mm-hmm.
did. And it was amazing. And like the
How did it
result,
feel in your body?
so good. Everything was just lit up.
Mm-hmm. And did it feel visceral? I know I ask you this all the time. Did it feel sexual at the same time?
Yes.
Because most of us are disconnected from our sexuality, and that viscerality of depth and stating what we want and being true, like, okay, I'm aroused by this person, or I'm this, or I'm that, can go massive to getting your confidence up and being fully embodied, because now you're not scared that you're not being seen or whatever. And it's so shitty when you get to the bottom of it and you realize the not being seen was your own closing of your own shutters, because you weren't sure that you could be safe and not get hurt.
Yeah.
But now we have an Anya that can be hurt. She can get punched in the head, and she can be scared shitless and be the little girl and all this kind of stuff, and still walk in the world and smile.
Yeah. But so I had told him, I don't want to talk about the punch.
Yeah.
And so I had told him like all of that. He's like, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. Because he
So
had no story yet.
yeah. Yeah. Like he had no idea like that's what I felt. And like, but he had agreed. He was like, yeah, it was definitely a vibe when we were hanging out. Like I felt the vibe, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
interested in you too.
Mm-hmm. So when you're alone in a private place or whatever, you can start to explore that, right? Beautiful. Well, how are you going to know what the vibe is if you're look at the stories in the middle of a park that you're dealing with to explore that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, can people hear us? And can we talk about sex as the lady with their kid or dog walks by, or all these judgments that are going on in here that keep you pulling back and pulling back and pulling back. And that other person doesn't really know, are you really opening, or are you a little bit scared? Is it your fear that's going on, or whatever? It's all percolating. Where if you're in a private place, like go back to his place, or you're going to spend some nights with him, or whatever, still as the friend, and then that opportunity, you'll be able to go deeper, and then you're going to have feelings in your body, and there'll be a pull of the energy, and now you know you're dealing less with the judgments and the limits of what's acceptable. And what did I keep telling you to give him that's really, really important?
Freedom.
Okay. I said an invitation,
An invitation.
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did use that word. I was like, listen, like I was gonna tell you this when I saw you and give you this invitation to explore depth together, like on an intimate level.
He
I
said that.
did, yeah,
Isn't that exactly what you talked about before that with
yeah,
me?
yeah,
So look at the
I did,
energies. It gave you your same message back from a willing partner, so that there was clarity. And underneath there's even a further depth, like you said, intimacy, which is often words, but that might even be body
yeah,
and physical,
yeah,
which could be really fun. And probably both you need, because he's been in probably a untrusting relationship. I don't know why he broke up or whatever. And you've had some of those in your past too. And now you just need a real soft person that you can go be really deeply vulnerable with, and cry and scream and be sexual and all that kind of stuff, so that a much deeper healing can happen.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And
Uh-huh.
what did I tell you about the stair steps? Do you remember that one? It's okay. Just nod your head if you don't. We went through a lot of stuff and you're in really deep energy, but The universe is going to bring everything that you need as long as you're open to it. And there's going to be a set of stairs of
Yeah.
people. And I said, don't put everything into an all in, because you're a woman and you've been told the fairy tale and all this kind of stuff. And you're hoping that he's Prince Charming and
No.
this is all going to work out. And you resisted a little bit, but I just said, be open to the possibility that he's a stair step and you're a stair step. And then it's that pull you're feeling right now may not be twin flameness, my other half or whatever, but right now you need somebody that's in that level of vulnerability, willing to go to that depth, so that
Yes.
both of you can be open to a deeper level of vulnerability and depth for all future partners.
Yes.
And that's where our concept of the 3 months relationship with a contract and all that kind of stuff is so that you feel safe enough to go right to the bottom. And can he have other partners? Can you have other partners? How's this work? It's all set out on paper. And is this leading to marriage or whatever? No, this is leaning to both of us opening up and finding the depth of ourselves so that we can really find out and trial each other. Like, check and see if he's got some quirks and you got some quirks, which you'll only find when you're really deeply intimate with a person.
Yeah.
So my role that I'm feeling, and I told you this yesterday, is I find I'm here to interact with high level light workers to show them their possibility and just to open it. It's not about saying do this or guide this or whatever, just building on what, because I didn't say, oh, you're going to go see this guy and you're going to hook up and all this kind of stuff, but you had a feeling and then we explored it and then opened the shell on it so it could be bigger. And then when it came crashing down, that whole thing fell apart, but it was all based on a bunch of other shells that were now overlaid. The whole beautiful flower was covered by an iron pot of, oh, jealousy and monogamy and not being with another girl's guy or whatever.
Yep.
And then we pulled that back and then the flower opened some more. And then we inserted your confidence because now you had this thing that smothered everything, but now it's not smothering. And then you had the hard conversation, and that hard conversation made the flower open even more. And now he's got an invitation. The next time you guys are going to meet, now that he's said that scary thing, which is intimate in depth and all this kind of stuff, which no guy wants to let a woman in too far unless he trusts them, and vice versa, there's permission.
But we have both stated that we trust each other.
Exactly. But now there's permission to go to that depth and
Yeah.
see what shows up. And then as you're going down levels. So let's say, okay, here's the really highest level where all my shit is turned on and I'm scared and I want to protect myself and I don't want to get raped and blah, 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 blah. And then you're going a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. That permission that you've given has let go of a whole bunch of steps. And now you're like here. And it's like really visceral, and you're a confident woman and he's a confident man, and you're both sexual and you both want to go to that depth. And from your saying that you're okay that he has another girl or whatever, the sexuality means different to you now.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, here's my tag and you're tagged because we've inserted in each other's genitals or whatever.
Yeah.
So now you're okay with, okay, I want something good for him, but I want something good for me. I want him to be real and open with me whenever we're together. The rest of the time, you'll negotiate in your contract or whatever to say, okay, you going to honor me, or maybe somebody needs to be tested or something. I don't know, whatever is inside of you. But once again, those are all just rules. In my world, that doesn't exist. And you don't have to get tested and prove yourself and all this kind of stuff. These are all just hedges against depth of intimacy. It's like, I'm going to hold back. I'm not going to have oral sex with this person because they maybe have herpes or some other stupid thing, where you're all in. And now you're going to go and you're going to start talking, and the heat's going to come up and the arousal is going to come. And then there's going to be a whole nother set of holdbacks that you're going to come up against for both of you. And it's like, oh, he wants to kiss you or whatever. But if you invited him to kiss you, maybe he's been the victim of somebody said they raped them or something like that, but didn't go to jail or something. Those are all going to be little holdbacks that are going to be in his energy that are going to have to be traversed. And as a woman, most times they want the man to advance, but they're not clear about where the boundaries are or what's scary.
Like asking for what they need.
Exactly. So there's a level of trust that needs to happen. Like, Like if I were in that situation, it'd be like I'd lean in for a kiss and I'd be waiting for a little bit of a lean in and a softness in the mouth and maybe pursing his lips to prepare. Those are all permission kind of things. But if you just sat there and said, okay, I'm expecting him to figure out what I want from my energy. And for me, it's kind of hard at that point because there's not a willingness. There has to be a whatever. So then I'm going to say, okay, may I kiss you? And then she might just like kind of fall her eyes. And it's like, well, you couldn't read my energy. Well, you've been lying to my energy all along. So I'm getting it really clear. So you're accountable to your yes. And if you say yes, I'm going to lean in and touch the back of your head and give a kiss. Now, how do I advance the next one? Like if that doesn't soften you and open your body, and maybe your chest opens or you push your breasts against me or grab my hand or something, that's an invitation. But if you sit there cold and you wait for the next step,
Yeah.
and for me to read your energy isn't broadcast at that moment. Or if it is, it's filled with uncertainty about yourself. And I don't know if I'm going to be called a rapist tomorrow or whatever. So there's a delicate dance of all this kind of stuff. And you're going to come up against shit. And really the truth is, and maybe the conversation you have to have is I need you to be 100% real with your yeses and nos with your body or whatever. And if you're ever anything other than a hell yes, like I want you to touch me, I want you to penetrate me, I want you to do all this. If you're not a hell yes, just say something's off. Can we talk about it for a sec?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, last time I was in this situation, my boyfriend almost raped me and I didn't have any choice and I wasn't feeling good about it. And now I'm feeling that again, but I trust you enough to speak about it.
Yeah.
And then it's like you're feeling safe because it's like, hold on, oh, hey babe, let's talk here, lay on my shoulder, you tell me about it, and let's get through this energy. Maybe some tears come out, maybe all this kind of stuff. How would it feel better for me to approach this? Be really gentle, go really, really slow.
Yes.
And then I'm going to ask you for a little while, just say yeses. And when it doesn't feel good, say no. And then I'm honoring your yes and honoring your no. And each time I honor your no, you're just like, fuck, this is what I want. Fuck, this is what I want, because you'd never had a chance to say no. And then that man, most men, unless they got their own wounds, and if they're proceeding, even though there's no, there's an opportunity for him for some healing as well. Don't be the victim and say, oh, I guess I got to do this and I'm in my fawn or freeze trauma. Then the no should come out more, or say, hey, why are you proceeding? What's going on? Get it into a conversation rather than a, fuck, I'm in lock and I need this now or whatever, because he's not going to be pleased by it anyways, and he's going to be unhappy at the end. And you're a willing participant if you're just saying, oh, this is happening to me all over again and I'm a victim. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever had. And I don't want anybody to put themselves in a situation with somebody that's going to be in this energy. That decision was made far before in the energy and it felt off. And if you lied to yourself and said, oh, this is going to sort itself out okay without your intervention, you've lost before you started. You were in the victim far before, when it was far easier to extricate yourself. And the man's now going on a bunch of energy and maybe his wound or his lack. And then it proceeds to something that nobody wanted.
Yeah. And no one's happy.
So I would love people that have been in that situation and all this kind of stuff to start to, they don't have to be in the situation, but start to be accountable for how those decisions were made earlier. Because none of these things happen because you deserved it. None of these things happen because you're a slut or just a using toy for men. These things happen because you have beliefs about yourself in your head that was maybe taught by your mother, past lovers, father, God knows who, society, that said, oh yeah, women just get used and they don't get to have pleasure and fun in any of this, right?
Yeah. Excuse me.
And that's going to be the hardest thing a woman that's had this is going to hear, because it makes her not be a victim anymore and makes her accountable for what's going on.
Yeah.
And once you find the right men to come into your life that are soft, and once you're out of victim, because you're just going to attract other victim men if you're feeling that same way.
Yes.
And then he's going to take, because he doesn't know any better, he can't read the energy, and over and over and over it's failed. And you just end up traumatizing until both are squashed, where now you're in a point and you're not the little girl. If you would have went there, even with the girl there, and you're dressed all sexy, your little girl would have contracted and you would have probably pushed him away and said, no, this isn't right, or shamed him for having that girl there.
I would have made it very awkward.
Absolutely. For
That's
you to be able
why,
to have a reason to let him go.
yeah, but that's why I knew what I could see the timeline. I was like, no, I'm not gonna go there. Like, abort mission.
Exactly. So as you stepped into your confidence, how did it feel different?
It felt so safe and amazing.
And it had nothing to do with him.
No, it didn't. It didn't matter what was going to happen as long as I spoke my truth.
In every freaking moment.
Yeah.
And
Just
how did it feel in your body? It was expansive. All of a sudden your yoni doesn't contract and it's like, oh, I'm scared, because you're really not making safe choices for her as a little 4 or 8 year old girl.
yeah.
So she's got to be like this all the time until you're a full embodied woman. And then it's like, oh, wow. And then you're feeling the sexuality. Can you imagine how he feels you differently?
Yeah. And like what was supposed to be, I don't know, like a meet up to talk about it. Like we ended up just hanging out and having fun.
Well, you got rid of your fears right in the beginning. Can you imagine how much of a waste of time and effort that would be if you were codependent and passive aggressive that whole time? It would have been icky, and you would have not really been yourself, and your little girl got validated. Oh yeah, he's bad because he didn't respond to this thing or whatever. Your
Yeah.
full embodied woman got a real conversation and more trust with this man.
Yeah. And it just felt so powerful to even be like, hey, I'd like to have an open discussion.
Okay. So
Like,
carry that forward to your first sexuality with him. Can you imagine how different you're going to respond?
I have not heard back.
You'll find out. But
I
that, even if it's not him, that Anya that's in her power with any sexuality with other men, and if she chooses to have it, it's
Yeah.
going to show up. You're having people show up all over the place in New York already.
I don't want to go home.
Okay. So maybe that's why he's not responding back,
Why?
because you're going to make the choice instead of basing it on him.
What does that mean?
You're choosing your return date on how long he's going to allow you to be in his house, which gave away the decision. But you just said you want to stay here.
Yeah.
So you don't want to give that decision away.
No.
Shoulders back. Fucking powerful, Anya. Absolutely. But you said it in a moment of nice relaxedness that you don't want to go back because you're on an adventure now.
Yeah, I am. I'm the fool on the tarot.
Absolutely. And it's the most powerful one of them all.
The dim-witted fool, but knows where the treasure is. Carries light, travels light.
But we had that discussion. The more I become aware, the less I really know I know.
Exactly.
Some people would think but where's the wit come from? Do you want to be a dim wit? Because you don't want it to come from here. You want to be the wholehearted, fully in, heart-centered, because that other thing will just tangle you up into knots.
That's true.
So is the fool really so stupid?
No, the fool is a free spirit.
He's having fun and he knows something that you don't know, and he's smiling and laughing at you every time to say, ha ha, you're stuck in your head. Cool. So imagine how many more big steps that Anya can do in an unsafe place where she's finding the safety is in herself and in her words and trusting her intuition. And like, this is fucking fully game on for you. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I love the word because it's a punctuation mark. And for some people it scares them, but it's just smashing right through to truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's Anya's next steps? So if you chose to stay longer, how could you do that?
Look at change my flight.
And would you be able to find places to stay and deal with base safety concerns so that you can continue on your adventure?
Yeah, I mean, I just need to hear back from him so I could at least have half of that time covered.
Mhm.
Like, so that would be easy for me financially also. But the
Ho-
first half, yeah, I can stay
the
at my
depth
parents.
that you allow him into your life will determine that decision. And the
I
next,
know.
I keep telling you, the next meeting where you're in private will decide how much he lets you in.
Come through, Yoni, come
No,
through.
well, but it's going to be your confident. You're she's just along for the ride. You're going to be the confident one that sets a safe container that she can
Yeah,
open,
yeah,
and that's as much him as you, because he has to be the other half of that, and to feel safe and to go to that depth and all that kind of stuff. He may not even want other women in his life once you've fully met, right? But that'll be a huge confidence boost for you as well, because really it's not about all those body things that you've thought about in your mind of whether or not he's going to choose you. It's about whether he feels met and feels depth and
yeah,
feels deep
yeah,
vulnerability, so you can explore everything.
yeah.
And that's going to be you going in places that are new and uncharted for you and might be a little bit uncomfortable.
Yes. And I
But
still
the
haven't.
same will be, go ahead.
I said I still haven't gotten a text
Yeah, part of that cut out because you turned your head, but it's all okay.
message. I said I didn't get a text message back, but
And why
maybe
does that bother you?
because I just want to know.
Okay, so make the decision for yourself and you'll get a text message within 5 minutes.
Okay,
State it out loud. You just said it. I'm staying.
I'm staying.
I'm going to postpone my flight indefinitely and we'll see what happens.
Okay. All right.
How's that feel in your body?
Free.
That's good. Free, scary, open, new. Is there anything bad in it?
No.
Okay. But it's expansive and scary as hell.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Woohoo.
How much bigger can Anya be in a month here?
So much bigger.
Exactly. And just to be a little bit supported when things get scary, to ground and unearth those things. That's where everything in my belief of a spiritual awakening journey, everything will work out right. You've already planned it. People may think, well, there's no choice in that. No, there's lots of choice in the middle bits, and how do you feel scared and how long you spend at a stage and all this kind of stuff. But that's what way showers, guides, etc., people that are willing to use their gifts to ground a person and to give them a juxtaposition of where they're at and what they want, and
Mhm.
then tie that to how their actions and how their words are going,
Mhm.
can be huge, because it's like, fuck, I'm fucking myself here by being scared and having to insist that he only has one woman and blah 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 blah, which just went and then you got more and more of what you got, right? And if we wouldn't have talked, probably how would it have ended?
I would have not had these breakthroughs and I would have been going home and sad
You
and
would have been getting all the same men and they'd keep showing up and it would feel good, but until you made a choice for you of confidence, really all you did was had a hard conversation,
yeah,
and poof, in 2 minutes, but the universe gave you, after having that first bit of the hard conversation, you were probably terrified all the way up until the first couple of words, and then
yeah,
all of a sudden it was just like, oh, what the fuck was that? Why did I hold myself back?
yeah,
Because that's the story of your parents and your friends that have said you're always going to be alone or blah 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 blah, and you chose to give them up in that moment.
yeah.
So how many in each and every day, and I'll be the first to admit it, I'm doing it all the time too, where somebody outside can see all the little fences around you. Somebody can see all the mangled up beliefs, see that you're in a little girl inside rather than your embodied woman, or see that you're ungrounded. That's where a guide or a way shower is going to be able to say, cut through the shit. Are you here? You weren't here when you called me, and we got you there. That was the very first thing. And within 30 seconds, it's like, breathe, because I could feel you were just like this. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But can you make good decisions from this?
No, no, no.
Okay. So get grounded. And what did it take? It took 15, 20 minutes to get you out of the story and all this. And I kept suggesting stuff and it was like, no, or whatever, because that little girl hadn't given up completely yet and wasn't
No.
trusting you yet. But as soon as you stepped into your confident Anya, that empowered, vibrant woman, Amanda Summers says, became natural. Yeah, you became natural to yourself. All the stories, all the close downs, all the hurts, all the wounds, all the pasts that were projecting something,
Yes.
you let sit on the side.
Yeah, it was like all past sexual rejections.
Mm-hmm. And what part of your body were you in when you made that choice of the better?
I
It
was
wasn't in your head.
in my gut.
Mm-hmm. In your heart,
My heart.
in your yoni, because there was a sexuality involved.
Yeah.
So you naturally fell right in to be fully grounded and embodied in your body. And then it felt different because now all of a sudden there's this warrior and this powerful Anya.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times when your yoni speaks to you, do you say no?
A lot.
Okay, beautiful. So it got a lot of rejection. It doesn't
Yeah.
trust you yet because you're not listening to it.
Yeah.
Your gut, how many times did you do stuff without your gut, right?
So many.
Well, when you had your accident on the bike or whatever, your gut
Yeah.
was saying one thing and you didn't follow it,
Yeah.
which is an out of body experience where you light and airy and feeling really good in the world. And you were like way up here and you couldn't feel your grounded visceralness that needed for your safety at the same time. There's a place where you can be both.
Yeah.
In your adult, can you be both? In your child, can you? Hey, fun, this is fun. And you're way up here a foot high and you're shining to the world and people are attaching to you and saying, shut the, what the? When you're confident, guess what? Anya's making her choices. She hears the voice inside of her head. It's down here. There's not a whole bunch of racing going up here. And then you're going to flow.
Yeah.
Magic. You know how big of a university course this is in the Awakening series?
Huge. That's
Exactly.
people.
Could you have done that in LA?
No. No.
So getting out of your comfort zone and pushing into the resistance that wants to keep you small is making your life amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Take a breath. We're all very heavy now. With noise, it brings the child.
Yeah.
But that's what we need to open to. And there's people all around us that we've kind of shut the door or put the mask on or the armor on that know stuff about us, and it makes us feel uncomfortable and we turn ourselves off to them because that's too much. And we built this kind of relationship or comfort or intimacy through these calls and stuff like that, where you let me in for your highest good. And we talked about that term compersion. When you really love somebody, as this relationship is, I want the best for you. So I want you to go and challenge all your edges and be excited about it. And it has nothing to do with me, whether or not you go to them or do them, but it has everything to do with seeing the smile on your face.
Yeah.
And knowing the world can be better. And it's kind of an adventure from my side because I live vicariously a little bit too, but I don't want to be part of the energy. I just want to, there's a mirror in things that happen for you that I get to see a reflection for myself. It's like, okay, here I'm turning off my stuff too and not as open. I'm living in the same house and all this kind of stuff, where the adventure is, okay, my landlord's telling me I got to move. So it's like a forced rejection. But I'm more and more just trying to dig in and allow possibility come in and new stuff. And going to that deep dive course I went last weekend, I went to this Tantra thing with 14 people, and it was exploration of touch and intimacy and connection and sexuality with other people. And I told you, I was fucking terrified. At least 15 times I was wanting to scream energetically out of my body because I was going and looking at all these little boy things in all my interactions with women in the past. And why aren't they approaching? Why aren't they being more sexual? Why am I scared? Or why am I not shining? And for the very first time in my life, when I was on that course, I learned something through my human design, that I'm a manifesting generator and I can't initiate. A
Yes.
generator has the power to amp up something that's already there. But if you initiate, my whole life experience is about frustration, because every time I want to create something new, I have to allow it and accept it in. And once it comes in, I fucking turbocharge it. And that'll be in relationship, that'll be in connection, that'll be in sexuality, that'll be in creating business opportunities, like some of the stuff we struggled with here, living your light going and awakening through sexuality. It's because I initiated those things, and I just had to find the people to align with to help turbocharge that.
Yep.
So so I'm not scared of doing those things. Most people would just go running away screaming, but I also choose to live that way in my everyday life. I saw a lot of people, very beautiful people, but they very openly admitted that they had to go back to their old life, and they had to go back to their contractedness because they had families or husbands or kids or whatever. And the playground was that time. But I'm trying to embody that in my everyday life and be that openness and be that. Somebody asked me, what did those women see? And I said, somebody that was authentic, because I'm always authentic, somebody that was raw, like bleedingly raw in some regards, and someone that was open. And that's my love shining out. And that's me trying to be accepted. And my little boy's in there trying to still reach out and seeing where those wounds are so that I can meet them. And it's this kind of tangled messedness. And it didn't feel really grounded in a body that somebody that wanted to feel safe could be. But it was also something where their energy could nurture that a little bit, because I'm healing mother wounds, and make me feel seen and met. Because if I'm not a cry little boy struggling and screaming in the supermarket lane because I didn't get my ice cream, but I'm a little boy and I'm feeling all these things, and then I can be seen and received in that power, something very incredible came, a gift came, and all these other things, because I wasn't whiny and taking and dependent, but I was like, I'm here and I'm trying to fit and feel, and then feel that it was okay just to be that. Something really incredible came. So see that as an image that many men are going through. They've been told they're bad and they got to be compliant and they just got to do what's said, but oh, you're not strong enough and you're not direct enough and all this kind of stuff. We're like whipped little puppies, not really knowing where the center of us is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know during that weekend, I was that centered, like dancing with a person that you've never danced before and grab them on the pelvis and in the back and then swing them around so they're not guiding at all and dipping sometimes and them feeling safe. That's a groundedness. How do you progress that, or how does that go to something more? Well, no, you build it and you build confidence, and that's who I am. And then when it was like kind of weird and it was feeling really off or whatever, maybe it was their energy, maybe it was mine. Now finding the piece that was mine so that I can drill into that, and then leaving them their piece to go to those levels and explore like intimacy, like is powerful, because you're going to see every niggly little bit that you're uncomfortable with inside. To be in the middle of a dance or be whatever, and you're just like, I'm not sure I'm right, or is this from my need, or is this from my lust, or is this from my whatever. And then having their space to have all the same things. The one thing that I wish was more in that experience was a lot more decompressing. Like after you had an experience like that, I'd love to sit down and then there's like a 10 or 15-minute discussion, like, when I felt this, what did you feel? And when you felt that, what did you feel? So that you could see how your perspective was. But that was only shared afterwards. But I think it could be really powerful to have a decompression of what happened, so the communication builds and then the rapport builds. It's like, oh, well, my story said this and that held me back a little bit, but I felt really pulled to you. And then I'm like, well, I felt really rejected by you. Why was that? And here was the story. It had nothing to do with me. And I never got those little bits of insight, which would have helped me understand what was mine and what was theirs. Because in a relationship where you're that close together, so much story is coming up all the time, and you're building something that's not even there.
You're not even present. You're in
Exactly.
that past.
Yeah. So that communication piece is the absolute that bit of communication made you feel so much more safe with him, exactly where he stood, and opened you probably.
Yes, it did. Oh my gosh. And like when I was going to sleep that night, I was just glowing. I was so happy. Like it was great.
So that's part of your soul or your contract with every man that you want to have in your life, is a deep connected discussion. And it's not about his parents and how his day at work was and all that kind of stuff. It's like, what the fuck really means to you? And does this feel good to you? And does this feel bad to you? And when are you feeling something from your past? And share it with me. And there's absolutely nothing you can't say that will hurt me or
Yeah.
can say.
Yeah. And like it just feels so good not to have those attachments.
Mm-hmm. And Amanda says, have a meeting to attend. We'll catch the replay. Thank you. Do you have a few more minutes still, or? Okay. I'm going to touch on one more. So I had an interaction with my parents again yesterday, and it wasn't bad. I knew they were calling. They've been trying to reach my children to reconnect with them because they don't really understand where our connection is right now. And so my oldest son is still seeing for the truth, and he's not comfortable with that. That hurts them, that he won't just openly come back and reattach and whatever. So we sat and had a discussion. I explained, and I like, hey, how are you? And they're trying to test, and they're once again like nothing has ever happened. And it's like, how's your day and how's your moving and blah, 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 blah. And then I got to the end and I said, what scares you about me? What's going on? And they didn't really engage. They didn't really even understand that question. So I started to go into it's like, okay, I'm opening up and I'm exploring all these things that happened to me in my past. And part of them were you and how you reacted and the things you taught me as a kid. And I'm going in and diving in. And I said, I felt really rejected and closed off when you said I couldn't speak about the experiences that tied in with your experiences. And I said, that's not acceptable for me. And I got to go on my own and start to speak about all those things because that's what's unwinding me. And it makes me understand that. And there's absolutely no blame. Listen to any Facebook thing or whatever that I've said where all my whole truth is coming out. It's never blame. It's everybody's got parents with fucked up shit that's carried into your life and you don't even know. And if you can't understand your parents' experience, you'll never be able to unwind your experience. So it's very critical that you talk about those things. And sometimes your parents don't want to participate in that, which is absolutely okay. I can't do that. But to say I can't talk about it anymore or whatever really, really hurt me. Mm-hmm. And I think they understood that. And then we got into other bits like where I was let down by the trips and stuff like that. I didn't get a birthday card. I said, I have something very vulnerable that I want to share with you, and I'll understand if you want to punish me. But my little boy was very hurt by not receiving a birthday card. You said you were going to send one, and it didn't arrive. And I've been waiting 25 days or whatever it is, and it never arrived. And they're like, oh, we're so sorry. That wasn't on purpose. And I believe them. My dad even got to the point, he told me the check number, which is beautiful. I think that they looked in their address book. They've sent me stuff all the times before. Oh, we got 3 different addresses for you. It probably went to the wrong one, which please scratch out the other 2. This is the real one. So it felt good, but it felt forced a little bit too, because I told them I'd get back to them if it came, and it never came. So I never did get back to them. And then we got into kind of how we got here, and they couldn't understand it. They looked at all their perspective and they understood from their perspective and kind of milked out all the pieces that might be mine. Like the reason I got so mad last time is they blamed that we didn't have a vaccine and that was scaring mom and we couldn't be around her and couldn't take her for lunch and stuff. And it was me as a little boy trying to do this loving thing for my mother, is spend all this time to come. It was not to go and fix the trailer and all this kind of stuff. It's come to see my parents, and we haven't seen them for months and months and months. And then it was taken away by COVID, and I'm scared of COVID. And they couldn't understand that. Well, we were offering to come be with you, and yeah, we could have sat across the driveway and had a meal and all this kind of stuff, which was safe for them. Ultimately, I got to the end the thing that's always hurt me the most is they'd make these agreements to come. It's like, hey, we're going to come for 4 days to your house or whatever. And they go to my sister's for 2 weeks. She's like a 1,500 kilometer flight away in Vancouver. And they go and spend 2 weeks with her. And I'd come up once in a while to the lake and they'd come for a 2 or 3 hour barbecue or whatever. And then I'd want them to come to my house. I know when I moved my last house, they couldn't come when I was exactly moving, but they came a week later and they said, oh, we'll come for 2 or 3 days. And they stayed overnight. And we rushed to get everything done because it didn't feel comfortable. And that's happened over and over and over again, where they'd commit for longer term. And then the next day, oh, dad's got a headache or whatever. Nobody'd ever tell the truth. And maybe they felt uncomfortable, or I don't know what the story is because I've never heard it back. And they never remember that they'd commit for longer term and then go shorter. And it always made me feel small because there must be something wrong with me. There was never any said. And then they do the same when it came to my kids. It's like, oh, honey, yeah, I want to come to your soccer game this weekend or whatever. And then we'd be at it and it's like, oh, we got to leave early or whatever. Dad's got church tomorrow or something. And then the kids would miss out too, because they'd make the promise. And for me to be an adult and make a promise, that's my bond. Maybe that's just me as a man. But it would hurt me not to follow through with that. And that person that I love, by me following through with that, shows love. And I didn't feel that love because that piece wasn't ever met. And I had to admit that to them. I was in tears when I was talking about it. And I said, this is what I need. And then my mom basically said, I'm scared to come see you anymore. I can't talk right now or whatever. And then my dad talked. And we came to the conclusion that we're going to be much more communicative, because I said, from now on, when you're going to make a commitment, we're going to write it down on paper. I'll send you a picture of it or whatever, just so that you remember what the commitment was before and you don't have selective memory afterwards to make it okay that you changed your mind. So that was a depth, which was hard. And then ultimately they just kept saying, can't we have it just the way it was before? And I had to make a choice. And I'm okay with that, but it's so arm's length. It doesn't feel like love to me anymore. That's just obligation.
Yeah.
And if that's what makes them happy, and it's got to be 10 feet across the table or whatever for safety, even though they're both vaccinated and all that kind of stuff, I can't change that. But it's not something that pulls me. So I'll based on that, I still love them. I love them with all my heart, but I don't feel that doing it out of obligation or doing it without. I offered such a massive gift of what my emotions are and how my heart felt and how I was processing things so vulnerably. And that scared my mom, or she didn't want to process my emotions because her emotions for her are the most important, which is okay. But to go that shallowly into the most loving relationship in our life, which is our parents, it was just like, what the fuck? And I'm okay with it. And it's what they need to be happy or whatever. But it just feels like it's got this arm on it. And that's okay. Because anything closer, we're not compatible in the way we see COVID. We're not compatible in all these other things. And we just got to the end. It was a peaceful conversation. And my dad is very logical and all this kind of stuff. And you could tell they process it in their mind, but the subconscious mind will always shift the facts to be in alignment with the belief. And it wasn't the same as what Kyle or I saw in some of those things. So I know I'm not wrong, or I didn't shift it in my subconscious, but if that's the perspective that's needed, then that's fine. And they'll always be my parents, and I always love them. There's absolutely no blame. But I'm only saying this because other people may be seeing the same experience and feeling that old way of connecting and not knowing how to bridge to the deeper 5D, where it's like really emotional and sharing what's hurts and what's scary and what's sad I can feel inside my body, because that's too much for some people. And if they haven't processed their stuff in those same areas, it's just going to trigger the fuck out of them, which is what happens to my mom. And I love her for it. And I'm sorry that I poked her there. And it's not my job to poke her to see that stuff. It's only my job to witness her, but it has to be respectful and it has to be whatever, for both of us. So not breaking down and crying and not having the conversation anymore. Just saying, hey, I don't want to continue on this front or whatever. We won't talk about that anymore, and just make an agreement about it. And I won't ever know when to re-engage, because that's a barrier that's been put up and I'm honoring a boundary. And that's what I had to do. I still love my parents. I still want to talk to them once in a while. I still want to, but I don't want to engage deeply at a level that's not feeding love in a loving way, rather than just like, here's the obligation, you got to come for supper and you got to talk about your shit and keep us informed so we feel safe and all this kind of stuff. It feels very hollow, but it's nurturing for them, which I'm absolutely okay with. It just, I guess I've always wanted a deeper level of being accepted and being deeper that maybe I'll never get, because they can't see it that same way, and that's absolutely okay. Fuck, that was not fun to talk about. My chest is all tight and other things, but, and you don't know how much emotion. I'm probably going to go cry for half an hour after this, but it's okay. It's just an acceptance.
Yes.
Because it is what is, and to want any more, even though it's out of love or hoping to connect at another level, I can't ever change that.
Yeah.
And only they can change that. But I'm seeing a softening, so she doesn't get excited right away, and they're willing to listen. So maybe it's a life or longer process, but it's not going to happen right now. And to expect that right now would be just hurting me, because it's closed off my possibilities.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can feel that in me. Heaviness.
I see it.
But it's emotion. It's just a wound that wanted more. It's the little child that wanted to be met at that level. And I couldn't get it there. But my expectations were very high, because I came from a very light loving. I came with unconditional love to the planet, and I was hoping to feel that. But there's very few on this planet that can experience unconditional love in the way that my baby self expected it. So that was too high of an expectation, and I hurt myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't them. It wasn't anybody else. It was me. And I've come to the full and complete realization that I came here with so much love inside of myself. I was born with a permanently open heart so that I could experience it. But I was so far ahead of my time, that stuff scared the frick out of people. Dude, and they were curious, and they wanted to know why. They couldn't be in that same place themselves. So I got judged, or I made my own story of what was judged. They were just like, fuck, stay over there because you're shining too much light and I don't know what to do with it and it scares me. And is that a bad thing? No, it's a gift. But when you're a child and you're trying to just get met and all this kind of stuff, holy fuck, can you imagine the wound? It's crazy. Oh. Okay, I think we're gonna have to close, because I don't think I need to share the emotion with everybody. So
thank you.
But thank you. It's all beautiful. And just trust that we're unwinding in the way. You're always going to get the little pokes in the ribs, and you got the support of people around you if you just let them in and allow them to talk to you. And I call Anya sometimes when shit goes sideways, and she does the same for me. So it's crazy, but by me giving her nudges once in a while here, it opens my possibility as well. I'm living vicariously a little bit. It's like, okay, a lover's coming into her life, and I've got a couple people that have had these divine flame connections showing up in their life. So I know that possibility is there. So now I can say, okay, I'm getting permission by the fact that Anya's going there and my other friends are going there, that it's possible. And it's not this hidden thing that's not possible. And I've thought for so long, because I'm seeing the process. I'm seeing that I've got those similar doors from a man perspective that Anya has closed that wasn't allowing me. And now I just got to open them, and I got to realize they're there, and then send love to them and say, okay, new possibility, bang.
Speak what you need.
And I'm going to tell everybody right here and right now, that family wound that we've been just talking about for a while, Anya worked through hers, is critical for you to be able to go into any relationship with anybody is
Yeah.
until you can understand and separate yourself from where your neediness is, where your self-love is bypassed through other people, because you'll never be able to get it and be whole enough that you're going to try and search it from somebody else, which is going to feel icky and needy. So I acknowledge that by going through these wounds and letting all this kind of stuff, I'm now opening the path to something really massive and the beautiful shining light of a woman, which I can feel she's coming. It's just, I've had to go through all these things and they're big, giant walls, and you'd think you're fucking killing yourself with all this, and you're not. You're just wanting this beautiful and amazing self so that you can really be a gift to them when they show up. And
Yeah.
yourself.
Healed.
Absolutely. Any last comments? No?
No, this has been an incredible journey so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the Fool Tarot card.
Mm-hmm. You're going to have to get a tattoo of that on your arm or something someday. In the little back.
No.
I don't have a single tattoo in my body. I don't know why, but okay.
But it would take a lot for me to get a tattoo.
Well, isn't that a permanent label?
It is, yeah.
I think I've been undefining myself, so that's why I haven't been able to.
Like it would have to be something really cool, like special, like that. Like I haven't gone around to it. I'm not.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I am looking forward to the continuing adventures of Anya the Explorer in the jungles of New York.
Oh my God. I can read you. So, last April, this is kind of wild. Last April, when I still had my job, one of the things I had to do was write newsletters. And this was during the lockdown. And so my boss gave me this poem called Desiderata by Max Ehrman.
Okay.
To put in the newsletter, and it's here in this Airbnb, like on the nightstand.
Cool.
So I could read that.
Go for it.
Okay. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. If you compare yourself with others, you may become bitter or vain, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit and to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive Him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world.
Beautiful.
As you hear probably some hood music.
Oh, right. I always thought that was the riot police outside.
No, that's Brooklyn.
Okay. You could hear it. Is your window open or it's that loud?
Both.
Okay. Cool. My grandma used to read that to me. I remember it as Desiderata, but beautiful. Can you dig that up and post that in the comments?
Yeah. I just got a message from him saying, "Hey, my bad. I was on the phone with family yesterday. I don't know if I can host all of those days, but I'll get back to you this evening."
How's that feel?
On the one hand, I'm like, motherfucker, you asked me to stay longer.
Might that change?
That's true.
He's basing it on a friendship. You're going deeper.
Yeah,
but you're connected at that level, will that all shift? Because he's not completely sure of you, and he's still protecting himself. Maybe you're a crazed snorer or something. Yeah. And he's just leaving an opening.
Yeah.
So that's why he just responded back to you why he took so long to respond, because it feels too open-ended. And yeah. I really think that first meeting is going to open to your depth.
Yeah.
Because you both made propositions and opened, and he doesn't know how that's going to look or feel, or how that meets his need right now and your need too.
Yeah.
Because there's a viscerality that you're both looking for that
I like
hasn't been open to.
I just feel so crazy right now. Like it's not that complicated. Like fine. Like what do you think? It's not whatever.
Well, you're going up against every truth and everything that's blocking you. Just trust and go into unlimitedness. And that's where surrender is. It's like, let me see where this is and just keep giving vulnerably. Keep giving vulnerably and vulnerably and vulnerably, and let the universe surprise you.
Yeah.
Because surrender is releasing all the rules, releasing all the judgments, releasing all, what does this mean? Because you've pre-interpreted it about 13 different ways in the way you've described it already. It's like, oh, does he like me a lot? Or is he really being deep and intimate yet? Or he's playing safe, and all those things which poke stuff.
But it's like, okay, if you have a cute girl like saying everything and we already just had this beautiful opening and now you're like running away again.
Okay. So here, I'm going to turn it on its ass. You might not like this. Are you all in? So should he be all in? You're both dipping your toes in the pool, and he's only going to be all in as much as you're all in.
If I'm extending my trip, obviously.
No. That, oh, I'm hinting that this is the thing I want, and I want to be with you. It's just a hint towards it, right? So the
Yeah.
all in is like, you may not like this. It's like, phone him up and say, fuck, I'm so horny for you, or whatever. I'd love to meet and just explore deep connected sexuality with you. Is that something you'd be in for?
Yeah.
Because you tell me that part of your body is activated and you want it and you're looking for an opportunity to have it. And if he feels that deeply connected to you and you're going to that depth, you're a part of him almost at that point. So is he really going to not want you to stay longer, not explore that more, not go deeper?
Yeah.
It sounds scary and it sounds slutty, or whatever it is, but what would feel really viscerally good in your body and in your yoni and in your happiness without playing the game? Because you're all both playing the game because everybody's not quite sure, and they can your heart be smashed open with this guy, and would you prefer it than go halfway?
Yeah.
So who loses if you don't?
We all do.
Especially you.
Yeah.
Because you want to know the confident, powerful woman that's going to show up, that's choosing from herself. Yeah, she may want to share sexuality, but she's not going to go deep until all the indicators are there and the permissions are in place and consents. And then it's going to be like, fuck, we're one and we're sucked into each other's bodies and we don't know the difference between space and time, and all reality fades away. That's what your soul longs for.
Yeah.
And who's going to give the permissions and the direction and the map? You've already pulled in the person, you pulled in the possibility, you've pulled in the time. Who's got to make the next step?
Me.
Fuck, that's hard. That's scary, but it's not. That's expansion. That's like, fuck, how far can this go? What happens if this really happens? Can I be that happy? Can I be that fulfilled? Can I be that sexual? And those are all little judgments that little Anya had to make as no against yourself in the past, isn't it? Yeah, you're glowing. I see you.
I'm not glowing. I'm insulted.
That your little girl did that to yourself? I'm just pointing it out.
Of course, it's a little girl, but I'm just like, motherfucker, you just asked me like a few times to stay. So here I am staying, and all of a sudden, oh no, 4 days. 4 days at my apartment is too much.
If it gets weird and it gets uncomfortable, it is.
Yeah.
Who's going
That's
to make
true.
it weird and uncomfortable? If this is your true path and you're fully opening and you're going into possibility,
Yeah.
you're not going to bring that into yourself.
Yeah.
Only your fucking brain is going to do that to you, and it's going to hurt you every time to prove that you're not worthy and justify that those old beliefs were true, but they're not. You deserve something better.
Yeah.
And you drew it in. Just don't talk yourself out of it.
Okay.
Go lay with that for a little while. Like we said, go get rid of that anger and frustration from yesterday or day before as well.
So
And
much.
and you're going to open, because I'm going to open with this stuff. look at the steps we're taking. That tightness that's in our body, that frustration, that all that kind of stuff is all us letting go of what's holding us like a cage. And look at all
Yeah.
those rules. They're in tight in your chest. And it's like, why isn't he responding? Why isn't he making this his
Yeah.
decision instead of mine? Where's my fit in this? Own it.
Yeah.
And you're going to love it. You're going to come tomorrow and say, oh, fuck. Something happened and I feel so much better. Because that's every day since you've been there.
My friend said something funny. She's like, sometimes obstacles can appear when you're on your path.
Massive ones.
And like, because I was
Go ahead.
telling her, you know, because she's been present in all of this unfolding. And I was like, I think I'm just going to go back to LA. And then she was like, well, you know, sometimes obstacles happen when you're on your path.
And the more you want to wander away and you don't and you climb over, how much bigger do you feel?
So much bigger. But I'm just like, dude, this fucking since 2019 has been a fucking shit show. Like,
okay. So there's a judgment in that.
Yeah.
That all these things that are expanding you are painful. So can you say all these things that are expanding me are pleasurable?
Yes.
I'm going to choose it right now, here and right now, because I need it myself. All the things that are expanding me are pleasurable. They're expansion, they're bliss. They are no longer struggle or effort or pain. They're felt as expansion and love in my body, not tightness, not pain, not suffering.
Yeah.
Just make that choice. And then all of a sudden it's like you're giving yourself the drug instead of the poison of the beautiful medicine.
Yeah.
And then, okay, somebody just swerved in front of me. Somebody tried to punch me or whatever. It's like, I followed my intuition and my matrix and everything slowed down and I got away.
Yeah.
And that's the way the world can be, but you've been taught in every fiber of your being for it to be exactly the opposite. So you're doing a massive job unprogramming all the shit.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So it's all good. Something cool is going to come out of it. Just keep going into why there's something wrong with him, because you're asking him a favor and you're trying to gauge his commitment by how he's inviting you in, when really you had to have a conversation, not in this sideways shit.
Yeah.
And you'll explore yourself. When are you going to meet him next?
I don't know.
How about tonight?
And say what?
Go to the next level of intimacy. Hey, can I come by your place tonight? And I'd like to talk a little deeper. Do it in a place where you can explore that. Use your feminine wiles and draw in and see what shows up, because once you've explored that depth and you've gone in a place where there's not a lot of rules or shames or stories coming up that you can really know. Go ahead.
I don't know what we talk about.
Really? Is that your mind talking, or is that your heart and your gut and your yoni?
So much work. I just wanted to be simple.
So what would be considered a reward right now in all of this? A loving intimacy, some passion, some sexuality?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the only one in the way of that? How could you get there if you didn't set a plan to meet him tonight? Make it a kind of a date kind of thing where all of a sudden you can ask for those things, create that through the day and say, hey, I'd love to have some passion. Maybe it's not going to go all the way or whatever, but maybe it's touch, maybe it's moaning, whatever. The only person that's between you and that with a willing partner is you. It's okay. You want to know what I see right now? I see a teenager saying, ugh, that would be hard. But if you realize the reward you're looking for is behind letting her sit back, watch me, darling, teenager me. I'm going to go in like a woman and we're going to make this happen. And she's going to be like, oh, you did that? Go, girl.
Yeah.
Because you invited it.
Yeah.
You're a woman. You got control of your body. This is a man you're attracted to. This is something that you have a choice of, that a lot of women hold back on because they think they're giving too much and they're opening their body, or they're going too fast or whatever. And you're the only one that gets to judge any of it.
Yeah.
And if you're at a loss, The only person that's at a loss is you, unless you chose a partner that wasn't worthy of it. And that's going to get really clear really soon.
Okay, okay. Can I just be like, okay, that's cool. Do you want to talk about it later?
Make it a date.
I have plans tonight.
Okay, I'll make it tomorrow night.
Okay.
Give him a little bit of an advance and just make a little saucy hint or whatever about what could be possible. And he's going to be all in. There's no man in the world that doesn't want to have a beautiful girl in his house and exploring intimacy to see whatever depth is possible. You just got to be okay with what you want. Sorry, everybody, this is the process that Anya goes through. And I guess it's very public, but it's just kind of gnashing up against where she's at and where her self-judgment is and all this kind of stuff, so that she starts to realize that it's self-responsibility. It's all our own stuff.
We literally just, him and I just had this connection, this breakthrough, and now it's like back to square one.
No, it's not. That's just your story. None of that has changed, all because he says he can't commit on how many days, and you've turned it into this big snub. Why? You don't have to say it here. You don't have to do it in public unless you want. Is there a little girl inside that wants it to be a certain way?
Yes.
And was asking for him to make the decision for you?
Yes.
And now, guess what? You made the decision earlier in this call that you're going to stay here as long as you can. And it made him safe enough to be able to come back and say a bunch of those days, but not all of them.
Yeah. Not even, but like, I was asking for 4 days.
4 days could be a nightmare with someone that you're really attracted to and they won't admit it, or other things.
Yeah.
Get that out of the way first. And fuck, you can probably stay anytime. Remember we talked about that yesterday? You said there was a time limit on it, and a time limit could expand. But be your sensual, sexual self, and stand in your woman, and just make a time when you can go meet with them. And it doesn't have to mean anything. I'm not telling you to have sexuality or anything. Go and get that depth. Hey, I'm going to come over. Can I bring a drink or something? And let's call it a date so we can explore things a little deeper. Would that be okay with you? And I'm not him, but no man would not want to go on a date with you.
Yeah.
And somebody that's stated she wants some depth and intimacy, and then go deeper. You got the first level of permissions, now go to all the other levels of permission when you get there. And you're going to know within 2 minutes, all this shit's going to be gone. Your little girl's going to be sitting on the side, and you're going to be a woman.
Yeah.
And how happy are you going to be about that?
Very.
And you're going to be off the charts. And then that's going to be the new Anya, because the old Anya's a little girl and a little teenager and all this kind of stuff that's like, that might be scary. And what am my mother going to think? And look at all these fucking stories that just kill you. Look how much your energy shut down from a few minutes ago.
I know.
And it's all story. There's absolutely nothing different than he said, other than a text message that says, I'm not sure. That's all he said. So make him sure. Go in there, get the energy deep, show him what you mean is true, and he'll be all in. And go in all in.
Okay.
You don't need any lessons of anything bad, but all in. Get the consent as you're going down. Say yes and no. This may not feel good, or if it's scary or whatever. It can't go bad unless you honor you and you're all in. And if you do stuff to please him so that hopefully he'll stick around and stuff like that, you're screwed before you start.
Yeah, I agree.
And you'll make the right decisions for you, and you just need a canvas. This is going to be your art.
Okay.
Yeah. You need a canvas, and he's the canvas of how you smear Anya all over the wall. Isn't it? Because you're going to, do I use the whole canvas, and is it like 50 by 50, or is it this little thing that barely fits in the bathroom?
Yeah.
That's all there is. I I'd be just begging for something like that, but I'd probably be just as scared as you are, because what if she judges me? What if I'm too forward? What if I'm whatever? What if she rejects me, or whatever? Those are all live things that are real in your mind. Just get down in the heart. Take your hand and tap yourself on the heart right here and right now. Just tapping it right in the center of your chest. Feel that, and it's just breaking up all that stuff and that closedness and that armor on your heart. Just tap there. Now take your middle finger and go right here for a little bit. In the third eye, right in the middle. Just feel, how does it feel in your body? Feel the endorphins and stuff start to go down your neck, and just kind of washing everything. Cool.
It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay. Call me anytime, right?
I will. You make no mistake, I will.
Well, but see, it's just teasing out that possibility, and then you can go down the path, and then you surprise yourself. And then you expand every time, because every single time before, those little things, you went the other way and it went back to contraction, where you're rolling the leaf out and you want it to curl under so that you can be the biggest you.
Yeah.
And you don't even know when you're doing it, because it's like, I'm going against mom and dad. No, I'm going against this last thing. I got hurt last time I did this. But those hurts don't exist anymore. Just the belief and the hold of it, right? The energy is not there anymore. You've done it. It's like, okay, keep curling that leaf out, keep curling that leaf out. But every once in a while it tries to pull back in, but no, it'll be proven. Once you roll a little bit further, it'll stay. And then once you've expanded into your full self and your full pleasure and your full trust and all this kind of stuff, and trusting that good is only coming to you now, you're going to go all in even more, and it's going to surprise the hell out of him, and it's going to expand him. And you both are going to be laying there crying in the amount of depth that you just received.
Okay.
What a gift.
Mm-hmm.
You got this.
Thank you, Paul. Folks, this is what we do here. Reach out to Paul. So helpful.
There's nothing bad. You're not doing anything bad. You're like a freaking warrior priestess right now.
Yeah.
Because that's going up against every single thing that you've ever believed in your life before, and trusting that something better's underneath.
Yeah.
That's all that awakening is just open your eyes to new possibilities, and letting go of the old charge, so that it can finally be free, because you can insert something new that says, last time I tried this, it worked out. Look at this guy that came. Look at how much pleasure I had. Look at how, and then a new guy came, and then more came, and money came, and I got an apartment, and now I'm whatever. Look at that guy the mayor of meatpacking or whatever you said. And I looked up a thing on him, and it's like he's trying to change the whole area to an art district. Like, what a connection that is, because that's what you want. So now all of a sudden you know this guy and you want the same thing, and he's talking at a etheric level, like, this is New York's going to be where a whole bunch of stuff is catapulting, you told me, and this is the place to be of all the world right now. You're synergizing. You just bounced on the street into guys that want the same things as you at a much higher level. That's what happens when Anya gets deep.
Yes.
Are you small anymore?
I'm whatever the fuck. I'm whatever.
You're just a powerful adult woman that's diving into all the resistance so that there's never any resistance again.
Yes.
Can you imagine how you're going to be able to weave things once resistance isn't part of your whatever, or that people are bad or they're not doing the right things? It's just like, oh, there we go. Oh, I'm just opening and weaving everybody's resistance into opening. Cool. And you're a shining example for everyone. Just watch Anya smile the next time we meet, hopefully on Monday, and you're going to see her fucking beaming. My projection. That doesn't sound good. My estimation. There's better.
Okay.
Loving you. Wishing you all the very best in your grand adventures.
Thank you.
And just breathe and ground before you get too excited about anything. Remember the square breathing, last 4, 4, 4, 4.
Yes.
And go into everything, go into all the energies in your body and what's holding you back, and do that breathing, and then ask inside, what does my yoni want? What does my heart want? What does my gut want? You're going to get way different answers. Cool. You got this. she's very tentative now. You see how her energy progressed, but she's now got some decisions to make. She's got some unwinding, and she's got the shield up a little bit until she's quite sure what's good. It's all good. You got this.
Thank you so much. I don't want to go home. Like, I don't want to go back to LA.
Okay, so whose choice is it? Okay, so change the ticket to how far out? Because you don't want to keep changing it and changing it. You can always bring it back.
That's the question.
So put it out. It gives you enough space to find a space to live there, whatever's going to pay your bills, et cetera, et cetera. So put it out 2 months. Is that long enough?
I don't know how I'm going to live here for 2 months without
Okay, so there's the leap of faith.
Okay.
Were you going to let him decide that for you?
No.
Okay, well, you're deciding that. Okay, put it out a month then. Okay. Do something that's hard, but you could probably find a way if you used all your friends' good graces or whatever.
This is where old lovers will be really fruitful right now if I didn't burn those bridges.
Would you have wanted to be there anyways with that open intimacy and all that? It wouldn't have helped.
No. But... Okay.
No. You're going to meet new friends. You're going to meet new people. They're going to love you. Just let them into your life, and you're going to be surprised. And God knows what may happen with this man. If you fully accept each other, you might be wanting to live there with him for a long time. It's a possibility. Mm-hmm. But you got to explore that and know that that's there. And I think he wants that before he's going to make a long-term commitment, because think of it from a man's side. If he's in his booty call kind of phase right now, and 4 or 5, 6 days, he's going to have to go without anything, that could be weighing on him right now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is. But it just doesn't make sense to me when we had this massive breakthrough.
Mm-hmm. You just give some permission you haven't shown. You haven't committed all in. It's a mental heart process so far. Okay. Open more.
Okay.
Well, can you imagine if he's got some girls that he's not really committed to, but he says that you're there for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, he's now going to have to cut off with.
Oh,
no, well, but there's maybe he was in a sexless marriage for 10 years and didn't get a lot, and that's something that he needs.
Yeah.
And until he knows he's fully connecting with you, and it doesn't have to go to all the way to sexuality or whatever, but get in there and have a conversation with him and say, what's holding you back? What would, whatever. And what if I stayed longer? Is there a place that would fit between the two of us that I could stay with you for longer term? And if this goes well, I'm open to deeper intimacy and being your girlfriend or whatever you want it to be. Those are all possibilities. But don't put any little stories or whatever in any of it, so that you can have what you need without it being, oh, I got to be in my own place, and it's got to be in this area, and it's got to be with this person, and it's got to be, fuck, the universe can't even start to help you there. But he's also given a possibility of a guy with a place and blah, 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 blah. And now you just had to let in to see what was really meant for both of you. Maybe it's buried underneath that.
Yeah.
The old ways don't matter anymore. You're exploring a new way, and it's not using another person or whatever. It's about balance and you both getting exactly what you need. And find a little side job in the market, and you pay some groceries and bills and all this kind of stuff. And then it gives you your feet so that you can eventually get enough money to buy your own place and do it on your own. I don't know. Just plan, just let it in. It's not hard. It's not chasing. It's not searching. In your lap, people are showing up everywhere you look, and experiences showing up on the street corners and showing you really firmly some stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
But all I can say is make the commitment. That's the leap of faith. And then sit with your fears, write them in your journal, whatever, to God and the universe or whatever, that says, I don't know how I'm going to find enough places to sleep. I just want to have a good, safe bed, food each day, and really cool experiences with other people. Can you give that?
Yeah.
And it will shower you with all of that. because that's really simple. Do you need a VRBO that's tacky and all this kind of stuff, but costs you 100 and whatever a night or whatever? No, you just need somebody with a couch and some sheets and enough to feel safe, right?
Yes.
Anya doesn't deserve sleeping on a park bench or something because she misestimated or whatever. No, she deserves a bunch of loving people that are going to show up and love her. And if it's not him, maybe it's somebody else.
I'm like thinking if I should hit up an old homeboy because I know he has a bed upstairs I can sleep at.
Does it feel good to be there? Is there a way you could find balance where it's not hooked up or whatever and it feels safe and balanced to you?
I haven't talked to him in so long. Okay.
Have coffee with him. See where he's at.
I will. I need to find his number. Okay.
Maybe he's got a girlfriend and yeah, he'd rent it to you for cheap or whatever because he needs a little money on the side or God knows.
Okay. All right.
And the fact that it popped into your head, whoo-hoo, there's the universe providing already.
Yes, I'm going to hit him up.
You got this. We're well over time. We're almost back to our 2 hours and I got to leave in 15 minutes for my work.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah.
No, it's all perfect. Just enough time for a shower and not get too much in my head. So,
okay.
Loving you, loving everybody. This is awesome. And this is what the dance of awakening and opening is scary edges, but opening to possibility. And guess what? Anya's opened herself to live vicariously so that we can hear some of her New York adventures.
Lord.
And can you imagine how many people you're going to give permission to and excite? Say, if she can do that, fuck, I can do that.
Okay.
You're doing it.
All right.
Love you. Have a good day. Everybody, we'll talk to you again, hopefully on Monday. See you soon.
Bye.